How's it going, everyone? Welcome back into the channel. My name is Matt. As always, we are here today though with a very special guest, one of my buddies from my hometown. We have Milan over here, who is joining me at YCS Niagara, and he just played Unchained at the event and had a fantastic time. How did you do in the main event?
Main event, like every little boy's dream heading to their first YCS, it was a humble X3 drop.
Same here, don't worry.
Yeah, pretty much what you would expect from Unchained usually for the main event.
But honestly, we made some changes to the list after the main event and did some side events after, and the deck is so spicy, it's so cool that I really want to showcase it on the channel, and Milan was gracious enough to let us do this. So that being said, we're going to jump into it. I'm going to let Milan go ahead and talk about his deck.
Yeah, so first off, I'm going to just talk a bit about the version we had before. Going to the main event, the idea behind Unchained was kind of what you would expect from the AGOL format, which is build a big unbreakable board with usually the same suspects, and then eventually we break the board and control kind of mid-rangey as we're used to. In order to do that with this format, because of the existence of everyone's favorite budget cards.
Who lost?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh man.
We love it. The existence of that one card kind of invalidates all of Unchained because you have to special summon from the deck and extra deck constantly. So we had to kind of mitigate for that, and it did not really work out. You had to play. I played 44 cards. It was a bit all over the place. It was good, but not in the ways I expect. We'll go into more details about that when we get later on.
So to fix that, you decided to make a big deck building change. Instead of going for a going first, break my board style deck, you said, screw this. Let's just go second. The line second.
Oh, and screw this, I did. I found out during the main event that I had some games where I wouldn't really open any non-engine, or maybe I'd just open like a thrust and or a droplet. And really what ended up carrying me was just the hard engine. Me just all engine cards, breaking boards, admittedly because most of my opponents didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then from there, just controlling board and just wiping out everything, pure going second, pure engine. So I decided to capitalize on that. Since I'm already so good at going second, I may as well fully commit. And when I did day 2, every match I played, won.
So let's take a look.
Easily.
What was the first couple cards in your deck? Show us off the Unchained going second strategy.
Yes, sir. So here we go. We're gonna start with the Unchained engine. That's right, Unchained engine. It's not the only one, obviously. We're gonna do 3 Aruha, for our little guys, and the 1 Sarama. These are our little guys. Aruha is still our best starter in the deck, and Sarama is basically doing the same thing. It extends for us, and if ever we are going into a turn 3, it does help us reset our traps. It gives us a little more longevity and help with the interruptions. Next up, my beloved, please bring him back.
Yeah.
It really sucks at 1, I'll be honest. There are times where you have to make a lot of sacrifices, where it's hard to make Caesar. Sometimes you can't, other times you have to do really awkward things with Aerial Eater, but it is what it is. And for our last Unchained monster, it is the Blue Dog. Red Dog, Blue Dog, Aruha, and Sarama. That is it for our Unchained monsters.
The monsters in this strategy are super important here because, for those who don't know, they all do something when destroyed, which is so critical. The Aruha will summon one from deck, same thing with Sarama. If sent to Graveyard, Charvar will set a trap, which can also summon from deck. There's just so much in this strategy, and they're all fiends, so you can make Caesar in engine, which is crazy. But what are your Unchained spells and traps that you're playing?
I just want to mention one thing about the monsters, because a lot of people, when they see this, are going to be like, that's it? Yes, that's it. The thing is that I'm not playing Rakea because it's a normal summon, and as you'll see very shortly, I have a better normal summon. As for the level 8 Abominable Unchained, yes, it's good. However, it is bricky, especially when I want to go second. I'm not using it as the interruption of the opponent's turn that most people are expecting. And when you play such a low count of Unchained names, constantly popping means that you really have to be careful and watch out for what names you've used and how many times you are going to cycle through Aruha, because this is usually the one you're summoning from deck a lot. So that's it for the monsters. For the spell, traps, and the Unchained engine. 3 Prison. Yes, you may awe in my QCRs.
QCR rarity, we love it.
You may awe in Jealousy. I will accept it.
That doesn't show. Yeah.
Well, then what's the point? And then the 3 traps. So Another weird one, usually Unchained, usually have to play a lot of these. A lot of people expect 3 of this, 2 of this, or 3 and 3, or 2 and 3. We're only doing a minimum amount. Again, it's going second, and because of how the engine works, I'm really seeing this a lot of the time anyway. So you don't really need more than this. I prefer to have 2 chamber over the 2 escape, because really helps with the grind game, which sometimes will come up. And you're only really going to use the pop trap usually once in a game. Again, we're trying to go second.
So that's it for the Unchained package there, and it's, again, very, very small. You're looking at 12 cards in the Unchained package, and it works very well. You're able to break boards completely with this because, again, no one expects what the engine actually does and how it extends and pairs well with the rest of the engine, which is the Fiendsmith engine. Of course, they're fiends.
Yup, and I am going to make my first apology to all the budget players. Yes, unfortunately, we are at a point where if you play Fiend deck, these are obviously the best things you could possibly be doing. If you are a budget player, you don't need to play 3. In my build, I think 3 is optimal. It's the best thing you could be doing. But if you do want a budget option, you don't have to play 3. However, these were excellent. Obviously, the whole point of doing this is that you make sequence. You can go into Aerial Eater. Then you could send Sharvara to the graveyard. You could set a trap. And then with Aerial Eater in the sequence, 2 Fiends, you can make Yama, add Aruha. You know, a full Unchained combo.
Very important. How important is the Lacrima, the new Lacrima in this specific build?
Lacrima is very surprising, actually. Lacrima, at first, you just think it's a brick. That's the first thing. It's something that helps to get you an extra Fiendsmith in the graveyard, which is really important. It acts as an extender in later turns, and it's also a way to ensure that if ever you go to Desiree, you still have it in graveyard. It's always important to have 2. If you can't get the 2, that's fine. If you start with this and go to this, having 2 is amazing.
And I know you're playing a surprising card in your main deck at a certain number of copies. You're not playing 1, not 2, but you're playing 3 copies of Fiendsmith tracked here. This card, for those of you who don't know, it's not just a Fiendsmith card. It's a light Fiend card, which is going to bridge into your next engine insanely well.
Yes, indeed it will, because I am also playing the Magical Musketeer cards. Just a very small engine of these 2 monsters with these ratios. No spells and traps, just these guys. And, of course, maxing the extra.
So very quickly explain what Starfire and Calamity does, for those who don't know.
So, Starfire, well, all the muskets have a gimmick where if you activate a spell trap in their column, then they get to do something. Starfire gets you a musket from the deck, and then Calamity here gets you 1 from graveyard. So, very importantly, you'll often find these hands where you have a Starfire plus a Tract and or this. Of course, you could also include other going second cards, but usually this is insane because you can go, even if you draw these 2 together, because I can go normal summon, search, just grab Lurie. It doesn't matter, you get Lurie, and then in the new chain, you'll go mandatory chainlink 1 Lurie, special, then chainlink 2 Starfire, get your Calamity on the board, and suddenly that's 3 monsters, all light fiends. You're never running out of light fiends in graveyard for all your fusions. It's insane.
And super important as well, with Calamity, I believe it's a reborn from graveyard when a spell or trap is activated in its column. And it's not just your spells and traps, it's your opponent's too. So keep that in mind. It can come up quite a bit. But this also bridges into Magical Musketeer Max, which has so many uses going second to provide advantage, and we'll get into that a bit later in the extra deck portion. But this is great for getting light fiend bodies, and also because you're setting up yourself to get into your Fiendsmith line really, really effectively. It is amazing as a normal summon. So that's the musket cards. The next engine is not really an engine, it's more so just the going second cards, and again, not budget friendly, unfortunately.
A second apology to both all the budget players and my bank account. And any member of my family who finds this, do not tell them the price of these cards. Don't tell anyone the price of these cards. I would apologize to my girlfriend if I had one. I don't. Good. So these are kind of the price of admission for any going second cards right now. It's unfortunate, but that's just the truth. These cards are insane. Sometimes you draw 2 of them. Sometimes you draw 2 in any combinations of individuals or the same. And it always at least gets you either like an upstart or a pot of greed on your opponent's turn. It's insane.
Really good. You have to draw into your board breakers or going second cards. These cards are so important in any going second base strategy. And if you have them, definitely use them. They're just incredible.
All right, next we're going to the board breakers and just a bunch of good stuff, spells and traps. We're doing the 3 droplet, the 3 thrusts, mandatory and unchained as usual. It's the same old culprits here. For thrust targets, and this is the one of the few things that I want to test and change. I'm only on 1 triple tack. I'm on 1 dark ruler, and I'm on 3 impermanences. Going forward, I do want to try playing 2, maybe even 3 of this card. I'm finding a lot of times where I'm trying to break boards, and Desiree is kind of a pain in the butt for this deck because it sends. And I'm always removing cards by either linking with them or destroying. So with the exception of really specific circumstances, it is hard to get clear a Desiree exactly. The one card here that might be weird is the 3 of these. Matt here is the one who convinced me ultimately to play 3.
Maybe that wasn't the right call, but 3 imperm is so nice because it's good going first and going second if you're playing with the board with Mulcharmies. But quickly about the thrust, because this is something that you didn't mention, but thrust is actually an engine piece for this deck.
Oh yeah.
You can search for one of your Unchained traps, set it face down. You don't care that you can't activate that turn because you just pop it with one of your Unchained monsters and then you get extra bodies on the field. So it's really important.
Yeah.
The Unchained strategy is incredibly powerful, and having access to thrust to search for all these traps is still really strong.
So there were actually multiple times where usually I'm either forced to go first or I couldn't break the board and I had to go second, where I'm building a board and say I'd have to use Yama Engrave, banish it on my turn to summon the Sharvara in order to make Caesar. Sucks that, that has to happen now, but, it just occurs. But when I have thrust, I could just go, okay, I'll just search for one of my missing traps. Or say if I'm going second, I'll just, okay, I need to get a Unchained name or a spell trap. I get this instead, break the board.
Exactly. It's really cool. The main deck is what, 42?
It is 41 cards.
41 cards.
I try to keep it as close to 40 as possible. Feel free to tinker with it as you will. I know I definitely still will be. To the side deck is mostly teched out for going first. And yes, Ash Blossom in the side because this is kind of a mandatory anti-Fua loss Fua loss package. If you encounter Fua loss in Unchained, you will Fua lose. That's just the unfortunate reality. It's going to happen. So these cards were absolutely amazing for me whenever I had to go first. This is what I was maining originally in my main event list. I didn't like it, too many cards, wasn't seeing enough non-engine hate, and put it all to the side, shoring up the deck list, worked out beautifully.
And when going first, you can always take out 2 copies of Fua Loss and have that as your target for cross-out, which is still really important. What else do you have in the side deck?
Yeah, so now I'm going to go on to more targeted hate. The Bestials, fantastic this format. It was a toss-up between these or Nib. Nib is easier to play around, especially now with more people with Fiendsmith cards trying to negate summons and stuff. These will stop them from getting there. It came up clutch many times for me.
So 1 Druid's Worm, 1 Magnemite, 1 Baldrake. Baldrake with any other Bestial is not 2 interruptions, but 3 interruptions, so that's very important.
Yep. Next, spell trap removal, 2 Cyclones, and the searchable off of Thrust Harpy's Feather Duster.
Very strong.
Pretty self-explanatory here. Very good for the Tenpai matchup, although we already have a very strong Tenpai matchup, especially we decided to make them go first, which we're always doing, because who cares about Kwakemare or Draco? That card sucks. I hate it.
Against you, it's terrible, but you're fine dealing with it otherwise.
I'm fine. And lastly, 2 more thrust targets I have. Again, helps with Tenpai, helps cut down on the Snake Eye Azamina stuff if ever I need to. Random rogue decks, whatever. This is just a solid card. And the Evenly Matched. Going forward, I'm fine with Evenly Matched as a thrust target. I like this too. Going forward, I will attempt to try to fit in a DDG, Different Dimension Ground. Just because, it's a shifter that any deck could play. Why not?
Fair enough.
I definitely got messed up by that on the main event, so...
What about the extra deck? What is the extra deck looking like?
Extra deck is pretty much what you would expect from most Fiend decks. We're going to start with the Unchained lineup. This looks pretty standard from past lists. You could definitely go to 3 Yamas. That's definitely an option, and maybe this is kind of like a flex spot, the extra Unchained Soul of Rage. Just because that you're always expecting to go second, you don't always need the second one. Most of the time, the first one will suffice. Otherwise, it's fine. And then Anguish, absolute MVP. This card is insane. Going second.
It gets you to access code super easy. It's removal.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And how much did this come up? How much did Unchained Abomination actually come up in this list?
Unfortunately, it's the same as before. In theory, it's amazing. In practice, I would rather access code.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm still going to keep it just because there are corner cases where it is insane. The pop in the end phase could come up. Battle pop, on pop pop. You know, it's a solid card.
There's a lot going on with it.
Yeah.
And Yama, by the way, is like the most important card in this extra deck. It is so incredibly powerful.
Honorary Unchained card. Caesar, the boy, Konami, please don't ban him. Please don't ban him. He's not the problem. Ban Moon. Fiends really need a boss monster. Leave him alone. He won me so many games. So going second, he's actually amazing.
Yeah.
Talk about this for a second. Against Whitewood matchups as well as Tenpai, comes in clutch. Whitewood, if you don't know, all the level 4 guys can dodge or get the synchros off the field or in the graveyard and special summon themselves. If I'm going for an OTK push, usually they're only going to have 2 engraved to do that mumbo jumbo. So usually I'll go summon Caesar, then I'll go for an access code. I'll pop, try to enter battle phase, still do the stuff, negate with Caesar, do it again, negate with Caesar, OTK.
It's also great because if you're playing against a Fire King matchup where they love to be destroyed, you can always negate their summons back, which is really strong. And that's very important to deal with something like an Amla Whale, an IP Masquerena. It's great to deal with Garunix's, or Kieran's rather, a lot of good things.
Yeah.
But access code, also fantastic choice here.
Another one is SP. SP is SP. Going first, this is the best possible target off of Rage. Going second, you don't really want to see it. However, again, we have different options for that. This is obviously a great card. I don't need to explain it much.
And you don't need to play IP Masquerena because Unchained Soul of Rage is your version of IP Masquerena.
Yep. Now we'll do the Fiendsmith cards. Requiem, Sequence, Desiree, and the Honorary Magical Musketeer Max. This card is insane. If your opponent does not interrupt it, you will go +3 or 4. Depending on how many spell traps you have, you can very easily go, I'll give an example rather. One game, I went normal summon Starfire, use effect to do the to activate a spell trap in its column, effect, Veiler, sure. Summon Max, effect to summon 2 from deck because they had 2 spell traps. So if they have spell traps, you summon monsters. If they have monsters, you add spell traps. You're never doing that effect. So whenever I'm summoning monsters, oh, you're going to negate with Desiree? Oh, you're going to negate with Imperm? Sure. No problem. Effective Requiem. It's great.
And that's full combo from there. And the best part is too, as long as they keep it on the board, that's where you're going to be able to get access to your Light Fiend setup with the Fiendsmith cards, which is super important. And of course, Sequence Diffuse into Desiree, but also Diffuse into Aerial Eater, which is so incredibly important for 2 reasons, I say.
So,
even 3.
Aerial Eater is your bridge. This is the most important card, pretty much, for the deck to work. The way I like to build decks is to have everything be cohesive. The fact that during turn 1 or turn 2, doesn't matter. Sequence these 2 together, if they resolve, always get you to Unchained combo. You always send Sharbara, as mentioned before, get Trap, go into your Yama, and then that's pretty much lights out. But after then, you can also use the second effect. Unfortunately, and I didn't make any illegal plays, please believe me, John Konami, but unfortunately, in order for Aerial Eater to summon himself back out, you have to banish 2 level 6 or higher fiends with the same attribute, which means the only real target you have to summon this thing back is the Fiendsmith. Yeah. So I have done that where I banished 2 Fiendsmiths to get this back. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Won me this beautiful Winamax. Hell yeah. Amazing. Last card. Now this is probably a true flex spot. It was Necrocook Princess. So Necrocook really wasn't needed. I put this in theory an easier way to get to Caesar, as it was before the printing of Lacrima. Post printing of Lacrima, I am debating to cut this, put something else. It could be the 3rd Yama. That's a solid option. It could be another generic extra deck card, but this is definitely a flex spot. You can cut it if you want, but it's just good enough.
You're mostly making it when you're going to be using it to to try and get into a rank 6, for example, or get an extra big body on the field. You're not really using its effect that often, but that's the deck. It's a fantastic list that every time I see Milan piloting this, I know I'm going to be in for a rough matchup because he's got just a really keen sense of how to play the deck, but also the deck just interacts so well with so many strategies in this format that it made a lot of sense for him to pilot it at this YCS. And even on day 2, even though we dropped early on at the Winamats as well, and it definitely paid off for you.
Yeah, and I just, for all those people saying that, oh, this deck's not credible, he only got a Winamat, listen here. Okay, if I registered for a WCQ qualifier, I would have gotten my invite with this.
That is true, technically.
So, it's almost equivalent.
Not quite, but almost.
Yeah.
Not only. Anyways, guys, I want to thank Milan for jumping on the channel and showing us this amazing Unchained Fiendsmith Musket deck list. Absolutely fantastic. Shout out to Simo behind the camera and our buddy Jens as well for all the help. The Montreal YuGiOh Geek crew at YCS Niagara was a fantastic event. I had a great time.
And if you don't mind, I also want to make some shout outs, of course, first and foremost, to the Geek crew. Everyone back at Locals of Montreal, everyone in this room. Matt definitely helped me with the deck building for days 1 and 2. Shout out to him, all the testing, because his deck is absolutely disgusting to play against. So going through all those interruptions helped. Thank you to Simo for being there. Just kidding. He was also helping with testing a lot with the Templine matchup. That was a joke. He was manning Templine, absolutely destroying me. So it really helped with that. Also, special shout out to Steven and Yusuf, who we met before. Fans of this guy. Shouts to you, because I know you're going to be watching it.
Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. If you guys saw me at the event and you didn't get a chance to come say hi, if you ever see me at any event, please come up, say hi. I don't bite, okay? Just say hi. We'll chat. Yeah.
He's even more handsome in person.
Stop! You're making me blush. All right, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that really good stuff, okay? And let me know what was your experience at YCS Niagara, if you did go, or if you've ever been to a YCS. Let me know your favorite experience as well. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you all next time.